Forward button. Okay, great. So, hi everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Buzzkill demo. I'm Gerard Ilaria, and I have a combination of stuff today. I thought we'd first go around and introduce ourselves briefly, name, where we're from, how we practice, and what we want to get out of today. Once we do that, I'm going to put some slides up and kind of go through the protocol in a little bit more detail than I did at the EMDRIA conference. And then I will stop that and we'll do a demo where I'll ask everybody, other than the person who's participating in the demo, to turn their camera off. We'll do the demo, and then we'll come back and sort of talk about it. And then we'll see if we want to do some more demos, if people want to practice on each other or whatever. So does that sound okay to everybody? People are nodding yes, thumbs up. Great. Okay, because you don't know what order you are in my screen, let me just go around the Brady Bunch thing here. And Sarah Willard-Rusk, can you just let us know where you're from, how you practice, what you want to get out of today? Oh, you have to unmute yourself, sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I work in Connecticut. I work in an inpatient treatment center for folks that are dealing with addiction and mental health. I've been there for about 21 years at the hospital. This year, I also started private practice, really doing more of the EMDR and changing my focus a little bit to folks that are military connected. So I'm just, interested in getting more information that I can provide to the clients I'm working with in both settings. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sarah. Angela, do you want to go next?
Yes, my name is Angela Howard. I'm a licensed clinical marriage and family therapist. I work for Veterans Administration in a vet center setting, so a little bit different than being working for the Veterans Administration. Love it, love the freedom of it. I am not an addiction specialist, but I definitely understand how this could be used in so many different ways in the clients that I work with. And so really, I got on this because I just wanted to be able to reiterate it, like get it back into my brain and just, that extra bit of training, because EMDRIA, you get so much stuff. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Angela. Sandra, you want to go next?
Sure. I am Sandra Crawford. I am in Alaska, but licensed a couple different states. I just moved from Florida. I spent about 18 years working in the community behavioral health sector, all addictions related, teens, adults, IOP, directed a residential program during COVID, moved into private practice after that. Still work with a lot of addiction and really love EMDR. Loved this. I think it just added a layer to the feeling state addiction protocol for me. So I just want to see and learn more.
Cool. Thanks, Sandra. Kristen, do you want to go next?
I'm Kristen Erner. I am in Colorado, and I also work at a vet center. So Angela's presentation works really well for me because we are working in the same setting. I'm in Boulder. I'm at the Boulder Vet Center, and so that is a branch of the VA. So my practice is all veterans, combat veterans, survivors of sexual trauma. Those are our primary folks. And so exactly like Angela was saying, kind of, we are not a, addiction specialist team or anything like that, but really wanting to get into getting a little bit more of this information to put into my practice. Because, yeah, we got a lot of veterans who are using substances and addictions of different sorts to, like you were saying, Gerard, to self-soothe and trying to get through some things. So bringing this into another protocol in my practice, I think would be fabulous. So thank you for doing this.
Of course. Thank you, Kristen. Don, do you want to go next?
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning, everybody. I'm the only portrait versus landscape human, I think. I apologize. My laptop is currently not cooperating. So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in California. I retired a year ago in February from 20 years as a civilian therapist with the Marine Corps. So my specialty is really trauma, combat trauma, military sexual assault, traumatic grief. And I retired into a full-time private practice. So I also am not an addiction specialist, but in my work, I find a lot of addiction-like compulsive-like behavior. And I volunteered to be a guinea pig and to be the client today for anybody who wants to practice on me. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Don. Jeffrey?
I am Jeff Landsman. I'm an LCSW here in Florida, at least at the moment, right? I say that jokingly because my husband's also on this.
Yeah.
I decided actually I have basic training, so for me this is really I just want to expose myself more and more, and really enjoyed your presentation. I sort of sat in, if that's okay that I admit that.
Yes.
I sat in with David, and am seeing more and more of an application. I think in our area in Florida, we're a little bit in the recovery capital of the country. So it certainly feels very, very relevant, and definitely appreciate your doing this and really appreciate your presentation during the conference.
Thank you. David?
Hi, everybody. I'm David Walsifer. I'm a professor of social work at Florida Atlantic University. I'm in Fort Lauderdale. I am an addiction specialist. In particular, I work a lot with men who have sex with men who are addicted to crystal meth, which was also my area of research. And so I was very interested and really loved your presentation and had to have a cannoli that night afterwards because you kept talking about cannolis. We literally went out for them. So really interested in this, and I will volunteer to be the therapist if somebody else wants to do it.
Excellent. Thank
And
you.
I'm kind of in love with Jennifer's cat, so I have to put that out there.
Yes, all pets are welcome as well.
Yes, I'm surrounded by dogs. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Betty?
Hi, I'm Betty Rich. I have a private practice in Franklin, Tennessee, after spending 25 years in Connecticut. Grow where you're planted, right? So I work with adults and elders more and more, and I have actually used the protocol a couple of times and I had trouble with the feeling state addiction protocol that I learned years ago, and I found this a lot more therapist user friendly. It's streamlined, and so I kind of really it fit the way I practice well. So I wanted to just continue learning more.
Thanks so much, Betty. Am I pronouncing it right, Marilyn?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Marilyn from near Toronto, outside of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Am I the only Canadian here today? I have a general family practice. I'm a registered psychotherapist, and I've been dabbling with the protocol, the Buzzkill protocol that you provided after the conference, but I'd like to learn a lot more. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Tara?
Hey, I'm Tara Chandler. I am a managing partner of a kind of psychological clinic, I guess is the best way to call what we do, in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm also a consultant for the last several years with EMDR Consulting. And I have to say, I was just so excited about your protocol. Like, I had several people that I had talked it up to. And then we had a natural disaster where I live. And so
Yes.
a lot of things got rerouted.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten a chance to work with it yet, but I feel like the potential of it is really exciting, especially with my consultees who are doing a variety of different work. So I'm excited to be here for sure.
Thank you, Tara. Thanks for mentioning that. I was thinking of that as soon as you said Asheville. So I imagine as people are stressing out, they may start turning to self-soothing behaviors, and they may get them in trouble. So I'm sure there's going to be use for it. Danielle?
Hi, I'm Danielle Corey. I'm an LMFT in California. I do all virtual private practice, and I am excited to learn more. The protocol was really interesting. I used to run an outpatient, co-occurring with substance use and mental health department, but now I do all private practice, and the hospital wants to, keep sending me people who are struggling with addiction. And with somebody else had mentioned the other EMDR protocol for addiction, and it just has not really hit very well with a lot of my clients. And so I'm really excited to dive into this more because, even just from the Emdria example, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it was really exciting. So I'm looking forward to learning more about it.
Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate that. Sheena?
Hi, my name is Sheena Krani and I'm from Hong Kong. My screen is a bit dark because it's 1 a.m. here. I work mainly with trauma in couples. So I'm a certified couples therapist as well as a certified EMDR therapist. And I do a lot of work around addiction, which shows up with couples as well as with the trauma work I do. And so I've been using a lot about the detour protocol for addictions. And I notice it does take time to go through that process. And I found this when I watched the video to be very effective, very quick, right? That you can even do something like this within 1 to 2 sessions, even one session, so to speak. And so I'm hoping to learn more so that I can put that into practice. I've told a client of mine, I'm going to be working with them. I want to see how it goes. So thank you.
And thank you also for honoring us by being up at 1 a.m. to do this. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Jen Chittenden, joining you from West Lafayette, Indiana, with my cat Pepper, who thinks he is a certified therapist cat. He's not. But I'm in private practice now. I'm an LMHC. I see my focus is on kids and teens, although I see adults. I actually refer out for addictions, but this is really interesting approach because of things like hair pulling and other compulsive behaviors and use of self-harm as like a soothing situation, just as challenging as a lot of other addictions. So I'm really interested to see what more I can learn and apply in my practice.
Jen, thank you. And also thanks for bringing up those specific things. I have worked both with beard tugging, hair pulling, and I've had other folks that I've trained out who work with kids in the Midwest, work with self-harm with kids and also with hitting their siblings. And it's worked in one session with both of those by replacing with a more adaptive behavior. So it's thanks for mentioning those. All right, I think we got everybody. And what I'm going to attempt to do is share my screen and do a quick PowerPoint here. Let's see. Okay, let's do here. Okay, can folks see the PowerPoint? Just not. Okay, great. All right, so I will refer to notes and do this, but so we did the welcome, we did the introductions. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the Buzzkill protocol, and then we'll go to demos and questions. So, how it came about. In my current practice, I work with a combination of combat veterans, gay men and women, and folks struggling with sexual and substance use addiction. Many or all of them have PTSD, and they've adopted behaviors that are self-soothing, but which have gotten them into trouble. So I've learned most of the EMDR addiction protocols, and I use them in session. And like some folks were saying today, I found that they were sort of lengthy and would sometimes not be able to get the job done. We'd run out of time. And then by the next session, we'd go back to it, but there'd be a new crisis or there'd be something else that was pressing. And we kind of never felt like having that satisfaction of having a win in one session. So I started experimenting with a more streamlined mashup of techniques to be able to, in one session, help a client change their orientation to an unwanted behavior and instead develop an orientation towards a more adaptive one. I called it Buzzkill because clients would tell me that through the buzzing of the paddles, which I can assure you I'm running right now as I do this presentation to keep me grounded, through the buzzing, they would experience a killing off of the association with the unwanted behavior and then an affinity for the new one. So Buzzkill protocol borrows from EMDR addiction protocols and the future template or imaginal rehearsal with alternating bilateral stimulation to address unwanted behaviors or compulsions. Yes, feeling state addiction protocol is obviously, as a couple people have mentioned, that's obvious, but that's an example of where I could not get an FSAP done in one session or two sessions. Like it was, to then have to go back to the root trauma, I just wasn't getting a win in a short amount of time. Same with Deter. I would try to do, and by the way, these are great protocols. These are the giants that we, stand on their shoulders. I'm not in any way disparaging them, but with Deter, it would be like, find all the triggers, then desensitize all of them. We would do one of them, there'd be 10 of them. Then we'd go to the next session. And for some reason, there just was a dissatisfaction with not being able to really get at the whole behavior. So it works to sever the bond, Buzzkill, between the euphoric experience, positive emotion, positive body sensation, positive belief about yourself, and the unwanted maladaptive behavior, and then replace the behavior with a more adaptive one, usually in the same session as I've been saying. If I were going to characterize the protocol, as people sometimes like to do, you could say it's a form of EMD little r, where it's a more restricted protocol. We're not looking to light up all related associated networks. We're just trying to stay with the one associated with the specific behavior we're trying to extinguish. I think another way of thinking about or talking about this is you could call it resourcing, which I did in my talk at EMDRIA, because it definitely can be in service of eliminating behaviors that keep the client in a loop of addiction and relapse, which can prevent us from doing the deeper work, let's say, of memory reprocessing. So however you want to think about it, a standalone innovation, EMD little r, resourcing, whatever gets you there. I found it to be useful, as other people have. And we started talking about this. What types of behavior does this seem to work on? Well, this is the fun part, because the big experiment of talking to you today and sending out the protocol and people writing me back is I get to make this list really long. And it started out small and it's getting longer every time somebody emails me. So I started working with it initially around drinking, around drug use, around eating or kind of compulsive eating, nighttime eating, compulsive snacking, gum chewing. I got somebody off of chewing tons of gum all the time. Certainly porn use and all of its related sort of compulsions. So porn use, app use, sexting, all of the sort of way that kind of compulsive process behaviors associated with basically sexual addiction, let's call it. Beard tugging, hair pulling. I worked with a therapist on beard tugging. It worked very well in one session. He hasn't returned. The self-harm, I already mentioned that, and hitting other kids. I've a really great therapist, Rebecca Kofelt, who works in the Midwest with just kids, is loving this and keeps writing me, and we keep chatting about all of this, how she keeps using it with the kiddos and how well it's working, and the parents thanking her for eliminating some of these behaviors that really were causing havoc in the household. Back in the sort of porn use, I got an email last night on the way from dinner to a show from a woman, an EMDRIA consultant, who used it with a client of hers who's in SLA, sex and love addicts, and she just kept wanting to recontact her ex. And so she used it, and in one session, she got it from a 10 to a 0, and then replaced it with an adaptive behavior. And the client felt so much better that they were not, compelled to reach out to their ex. And I was like, that sounds like a opportunity there. And I can't wait to use it with some of my clients who keep wanting to reach out to their exes when they, it's not going to be helpful. And then I did it recently, the same gentleman that you saw in the video at Emdria, we were working on something where because of his history, he has some physical things that can be problematic, sort of a neurological stuff, migraines, dizziness. He drops out, he dissociates, and he identified that he has this impulse to collapse into a helpless state. And I thought, well, all right, let's have some fun. Let's try that. And we did actually work on this impulse to collapse into a helpless state with this sort of, positive belief, I'm free. And he had because it really freed him up from duties or from having to take care of the kids or other stuff. And then we processed that down and it worked great. And he ended up being able to replace it with a more adaptive behavior. And, I talk to him regularly, and it's been at bay. His wife and everyone else is noticing that he's not sort of collapsing into sort of his younger state. So I thought, well, that's totally never anything that I imagined we'd be doing, but it's was interesting. So I just mentioned it. How does it work? It focuses on pleasurable or positive aspects, right? A little different than sort of the negative aspects of a compulsive behavior, the positive stuff. What's good about it? Positive feelings, positive body sensations, positive belief about yourself. And then through the alternating bilateral stimulation, unpairs the behavior from the positive emotions, sensations, and beliefs. And when the behavior is fully unpaired from the positive euphoric state, the client's asked to come up with a more adaptive behavior that could get them to the same positive belief about themselves. And then the therapist helps the client to repair the positive feeling state with the new adaptive behavior. Unpairing, repairing. Buzzkill can be used as a structured treatment plan where elimination of the behavior is central to the client's recovery, such as recovery from drug or alcohol abuse. It can also be something employed for behaviors that just happen to arise during the course of a treatment about something else, where clients attempting a lifestyle change, they're trying to do better for themselves, trying to get healthier, more self-care, and they could use some specific assistance with eliminating a behavior. The more the client wants to stop the behavior, the better, but you don't need 100% buy-in to stop the behavior. A question that I ask a lot of times is it like, do you want to stop this behavior 50%, 51% at least? If the answer is yes, great. If they say, really, no, I don't want to stop the behavior, well, then you've got a different issue. But there needs to be some interest, in stopping the behavior. So what's it look like? You saw it, but I'll run over it again. For the setup, the client, let's just say, for as an example, the client identifies the behavior as excessive use of a sex app. And the therapist will ask the client, what's the best feeling or emotion you get from engaging the app? That can sometimes throw the client off because you're now asking them about a behavior that they think is bad. What's the best thing about it? What's the most positive thing that you feel? But, you're going to have their attention, and then maybe they answer, well, I feel excited, I feel validated. Next, the therapist asks the client to describe the body sensation that the client experiences when using the app. Client might say arousal, tingling in my chest, increased heart rate. And then finally, the therapist would ask, what's the positive belief you have about yourself when you engage in the behavior? And they might answer, I'm valuable. Now, let me pause for here because what you don't want to let them finish with is, let's say they didn't say I'm valuable, which is a core belief that you can get there from a variety of ways, right? Let's say they said, I love sex apps, like I'm being silly, but I mean like something very specific. It's going to be hard if you think ahead 10 minutes into this, protocol that we're not going to find a different behavior that's going to, privilege that a positive feeling. What we're looking for is something more of a core belief that is general enough so that we can later on find something with them that we can get them there in another way. So I'm valuable, I'm free, I'm validated, I'm something that is general enough, I would say. And if they can't get there, I'm not afraid to menu it. Oh wow, I forgot to.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So thank you for everything. Just to confirm, this is something that brings up a positive cognition.
Correct.
So, for example, if I say I relapsed on meth, I hate myself for it. I'm not a good candidate for Buzzkill.
Well, right. I mean, what you might say is, I recognize that you hate yourself for having done that, and we can get to that. I've got to imagine that that first moment of meth, either when you were thinking
Got
of
it.
hooking up with somebody, when the first hit, the first whatever, was there something, was there some real positive feeling at some
I thought I was the number one guy in the party.
Sure, right. And so what does that mean about you? I'm valuable, I'm
Got
the
it. So
best,
we're
I'm the
not looking and honing in on the shame associated with.
correct. Yeah, no,
Gotcha.
we're
Okay,
actually,
thank you.
yeah, exactly. No, it's the inverse. And this, look, this, I didn't invent this. I mean, sometimes like with Miller, you're going for the thing that is what's keeping them there, what's keeping them coming back, as opposed to the more obvious, connecting the consequences, the shame and guilt. Sure, that actually does come in later, but kind of engaging them more on the idea of like what's good about it, what keeps you coming back. Actually I have no idea. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm terrible at advancing slides and talking at the same time, it turns out.
Sorry, I have a question as well.
Sure.
Just to follow up David's piece, you said, I thought I was the best person at the party, and you said, what does that mean about you? Is that correct? To
Yeah,
get them
because
to
I wanted to generalize it a little bit more, like I'm valuable, right? Because later on, when we go to try to pair a new adaptive behavior, I'm the best person at the party might be a little specific, but if it's I'm valuable, there's a lot of things that we could come up with together that we can privilege or resource to get them to the feeling of I'm valuable. Yeah, it's a great question. Okay, great. Good. I finally caught up with myself. So you want to measure the strength of the pairing, just like anything else in EMDR, right? It's a SUDS of a sort, although we can call this a connection strength or something like that. So you ask the client to bring to mind the positive. Maybe I skipped over some of this. So right, therapist asks, "What's the positive belief? I'm valued." No, I got it. So measuring the strength, the therapist asks the client to bring them to mind the positive emotion, positive body sensation, positive belief, while picturing doing the behavior. The goal is to bring the euphoric experience and the associated behavior into conscious awareness. And the therapist, so for example, therapist asks the client, when you imagine using the sex app, calling up the emotion of feeling excited and valid with the arousal and belief of I'm valuable, how strong is the connection between the positive belief and the behavior on a scale of 1 to 10? And this looks very familiar, right? I mean, Miller does this. And I thought it was great. And so I thought, let's mash this up with some other stuff. So again, it serves the same purpose as any other SUDS. It just kind of gives us a place to start from and to keep referring back to the client gets a win. They saw that, the connection reduces. You're getting the data you need, et cetera. So you ask them 1 to 10, maybe they say an 8. Great. Now we've set it up. We know how strong it is. Now we're going to unpair it. So you ask the client to close their eyes. I ask them to close their eyes because a lot of this work is imaginal, right? I mean, if you guys are really interested in eye movement, you want to try this without closing your eyes and just imagining with eyes open and using eye movement, by all means, send your letters. I'd love to know how that works. I just primarily use alternated bilateral tactile. So for me and for imaginal work, I tend to say, close your eyes, imagine doing the behavior, and then I turn on the bilateral stimulation, tappers, or they start self-tapping. And after about 12 to 24 taps, I ask the client, open their eyes and say, now when you think of using the dating app and the belief, I'm valuable, did the strength of the connection go up? Did it stay the same, or did it go down? And why am I doing this thing other than I'm Italian and I talk with my hands? Up, I'm trying to give them all the cues I possibly can that I'm doing EMD little r here. I'm really just interested in the strength of the connection. So up, the same, or come down. I want them to start thinking about that's the framework of what I'm going to be asking them for the next 10 minutes is this, or this. If they start out by telling me a story about their childhood, I'm going to probably stop them respectfully and say, hey, I totally get what you're doing. We are doing something a little different here. we're doing something more restricted. Try to just follow with me on answering this question more about, did the strength as you think about doing the behavior and unvaluable go up, stay the same, or come down? And so we do that a number of times. And you just keep repeating it and you're asking only about the strength of the connection between the behavior and the positive euphoric state. As I said, try not to have them tell you the whole story. Don't ask what's coming up now. Don't ask, what do you notice, right? Those are going to be more associational networks. We're just keeping it restricted. And, the one exception for that would be, let's say it's 8, 8, 8, 8. So it's not going down. It's not moving. I might ask, what's coming up? As you're thinking about it, as it keeps being an 8, what are some of the thoughts that are going on, right? Because now I'm looking for a blocking belief. Now I'm looking for something that might be getting in the way. So we might have to take care of that. But mostly I want to see it drift down. So the connection measure may also initially go up. That makes sense, just like an EMDR, right? Because they may say it's an 8, then we actually have them drop into it. And it's like, whoa, I'm feeling all those things. This feels really good. Now it's a 10. Now it's a 9. It's okay to see it go up and then come down. You're not wrong. You're onto something. I've seen both. I've seen the up and down, and then I've seen sometimes it just sort of drift down. They'll often report the following connection measure. And why do I think that is? This is not based on a functional MRI that I did on them. It's not based on drilling into their head and looking at their neurons lighting up. It's based on things they say to me. So what they've said to me is things like, well, now I don't see the connection so much anymore. Now I'm starting to feel guilty. Why am I spending my time this way? So what I'm hearing is less of a right brain situation, more of an integrated right and left brain situation, right? Logic, reason, narrative, and sort of more executive functioning coming online, thinking it all the way through. That's what I think is going on as this starts to fall. And sometimes at the very end, like I think in the example that I showed at Emdria, I think the guy said something like, well, now there's, he didn't say it that time, he said, now there's a football field in between, length of football field in between the belief about myself and the behavior. Like it doesn't even make sense anymore. That's a common thing at the bottom. Before long, they're going to report a 1 or a 0. Well, I don't see the connection. I don't want to do that behavior. Something along that line. Good enough. Good enough. Let's not get crazy about, well, what keeps it being a 1? We're not doing that, right? We're really just, if they're sort of verbalizing to you, I don't really feel it anymore. It doesn't make sense anymore. Let's not get hung up on, well, is the SUDS a 0.5 or a 0.25? I mean, folks. So we got it down. And now the next thing is we're going to repair the behavior with, we're going to repair a positive behavior with the positive feeling state and belief about themselves. So, okay, I'll ask, is there another behavior that's less problematic or healthier for you that results in you feeling valuable? I want to say one other thing that I forgot to say earlier. When you're doing this setup and you're asking them about the behavior, in addition to all of the sort of typical EMDR-y, feelings, body, belief stuff, I want to know back then, when do you do this behavior? Is there a time that you do this behavior more frequently than not? And or is there a place that you do this behavior more frequently or not? Because if they only do the behavior at 9 p.m. under their covers after they're undressed for bed, I want to know that because I don't later on want to say, what else could get you there? And they say, go to the gym. Because they're not going to go to the gym at 9 p.m. under the covers, right? I kind of need to know, when does this behavior happen? Under what circumstances does it happen? So that when we get to this part where we're searching for a positive replacement behavior, it needs to match with or be close enough to, the time that they are triggered or the time when they're craving or the time when they're getting in trouble and the circumstance. I found this out sort of through trial and error, but it makes a lot of sense. And look, if they want to say going to the gym, you could say, that's great. You should keep going to the gym and for sure think I'm valuable, let's say. But you told me that you get in trouble with the porn app, late at night after the kids are down and you're getting ready for bed and your wife's not looking. So you can't go to the gym then, you can't take a walk in the park then, you can't do any of those things. What else can we do? And it might be, well, I'm going to use my breath or I might meditate, something else that is accessible for a time and space. So client identifies the behavior with your help. I like to let them do it because as is often the case in EMDR, you're always surprised, right? We're on this journey together. We have no idea what's around the corner. They're much better at telling me what's going to work for them than me. But with Frank, the guy that I showed you, one time we did this, he's like, I want to start I'm going to cook. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know cooking and, porn apps were in the least bit related, but great. This was what he came up with. It helps me and my family and better than me menuing. But if they're stuck, menu away. You certainly can say, okay, I'm valuable. What else can make you feel valuable? What has made you valuable at different times in your life? What do you do now that is not this thing that could make you valuable? What have you seen other people do that could make you feel valuable? And come up with that. So they identify the behavior, or you menu, find something to fit the bill. Once the behavior is identified, you ask the client to imagine doing this new, more adaptive behavior, and again, start tapping or start the tappers. Now, again, experiment, your clients. I might let it go for 30 seconds or longer. They might have eyes closed still, and I might say, how is that going? Are you feeling, is it strengthening for you, the behavior and I'm valuable? Yes, no. Or you could stop and ask, how did that go? That didn't actually work, they might tell me. That wasn't the best choice. Is there another thing that might work better? Yes, that might work better. Let's try that. And then again, 30 seconds, however long. Do you want to keep going? I would like to keep going. I think we're onto something. Great, keep tapping, or I won't turn the buzzers off then. And do that, having, continue to strengthen the behavioral rehearsal, right? You can ask them to imagine it all the way through the new behavior, open their eyes. And then I ask them, can you imagine substituting this behavior the next time you are wanting to feel valuable? They say, yeah, I would like to imagine that more. Okay, great. Let's imagine that. Buzz, 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 buzz. How did that feel? Did that work? And again, if they hit a blocking belief, well, it worked until this thing. All right, let's solve for that. And you can keep reshaping this behavior over time. But yeah, that's basically it. And I am gonna stop sharing. I don't think everything else. Oh, I have thank you. I'll thank you in advance. I'm gonna stop sharing this. Okay, we're all back. That went away, right? Now you guys see each other in whatever format you come. Okay, good. So are there questions? Are people, as I was going through that? David is raising his hand.
Yeah, I loved it. Two questions, and this came up when you did the presentation. When we're beginning, we're using faster sets because you want to open the neural network. And am I right? And when you're installing sort of what I'll call the positive resource, you're doing slow, steady?
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right.
You don't want to activate there.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, having said that, I also am pretty deferential to the way a person may say self-tap or whatever. Sometimes I think, gee, it's odd that they're tapping that fast, or it's odd. And, so if I know the client fairly well, and this sort of seems to work for them in whatever way, because sometimes they're tapping also to calm themselves down, let's say, right? So they might be tapping slower or whatever to sort of bring their heart rate down, as opposed to like, quick, because if this gets them sort of anxious or whatever, so I'm a little bit, I totally know what you mean, David, and I'm all for it, but I'm also a little bit flexible on that.
I had a loud tapper once, and then it hit me that she was getting bilateral stimulation audio wise.
Uh-huh.
That this going loud was actually doing more through her hearing,
Interesting.
almost as though the headphones more so than the taps.
Yeah, let's have another entire thing someday on what's tapping, why does it work, why do we think, all the research, and then let's do all the fMRI studies, because I don't know, dual attention, grounding, some, in your body, any number of things. I know it works. I'll add ABLS to everything because it works. But exactly why, of course, they're battling it out. The memory people are battling with the other people, and maybe we'll live to see the final answer. But right now it works, and it certainly does work in these interesting ways, right? It works to desensitize. It can work to pair something and strengthen. There's a couple of really great papers. I try to find all these papers and keep them and read them and try to make sense of it. But yes, for sure. That's the general rule is in general, if you want to get them to go through something quicker, like a bad memory, it's faster. And if you're resourcing slower. But I also am just good with whatever works for them. Great question, though. I was going to answer your question before you asked it, so thanks for asking. What else are people wondering about? Yes, Betty.
Hi. I was wondering about the number of sets.
Yes.
When I've done this, I've noticed if I go too far, they go into all the other associations. Do you find it helpful to go on the shorter side more often?
I do. Yeah, I do. Exactly. Right. So that's where I say 12 to 24 taps, maybe. And what's a tap? Is that a tap or is that a tap? I don't know. Some limited thing, because yeah, again, we're not trying to get them to go, oh my God, I'm remembering my third grade teacher and how mean she was to me. Nope, that's not what we're doing. So you want to keep it relatively tight, which would mean shorter sets at that point. And at the end, when you're privileging or resourcing or helping them really build a new neural net around I'm valuable means meditating or something rather, you can make that as long as they can tolerate or is useful for them.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. What else? Oh, you're also great. Okay. So,
I have a
go
question.
ahead, doctor.
Have you tried using this with any kind of OCD symptoms?
Well, I'm writing that down. Have I, are you thinking of some right now?
Mm-hmm.
What
So
would
they
be the example?
have compulsive behaviors such as washing, closing the doors, or doing certain kind of behaviors in the shower, or has to do, say, shower, wake up, shower, makeup, getting ready. So there's a structure and
Why
has to be.
not? I mean, is it sometimes this or this, is
Yeah.
that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, look, I always love hearing different people's opinions on OCD because some people say it's medical, you need to use medicine. Some people say it's anxiety, it's just an anxiety disorder. So treat it like any other anxiety disorder and use that. So why wouldn't it, I think with an OCD symptom, you could probably ask the question, I mean, certainly with the beard pulling guy, when I asked him, what is that? And he described it, it's a self-soothing behavior and I don't even realize I'm doing it, right? That may not be exactly a OCD, but it's in the ballpark, right? And so when we brought our attention to it, and when we sort of had him start, again, fake neurologist, having both sides of their brain, coming in on this and paying more attention to it, they were suddenly like, well, I don't know why I'm doing this. And plus, he was a therapist and he was doing it on Zoom with his clients, and he realized he was always doing this, and he had a strong reason to not want to do that because he didn't want to be this like kind of nutty Freudian, I don't know, cartoon of a therapist. And he didn't like it. He was doing something involuntarily and he's trying to hold space for another person and being distracting in his thing. So we were able to, with breath, actually, because he's somebody who uses breathing a lot, when you're feeling anxious, when the client is saying, whatever, how about we try breathing? Imagine that. And, he suddenly was able to, by being more intentional and by doing, bringing the attention of this to it, stop doing this and just taking some belly breaths instead. And that was way better for him. So maybe I would say try it, and everybody try it. I'm going to try it, and let's write each other.
Sure. And so I'm curious, did he have a belief that was attached to his soothing behavior?
Yeah, what was it? It was something like, I deserve comfort or something like that. It was something about him feeling like he deserved to have something for himself as the clients were, sucking the marrow out of his bones, in that session that day or whatever. And he was needing a way to ground. And he was sort of unaware until he was aware, and then he didn't like it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Should we go break something? Should we just like jump into a demo and see what happens? I can do a demo. Dawn, I know you volunteered. I mean, but maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should let David wants to do it with somebody. You've seen me do it, but I mean, I can do it, but I know David wants to do it with somebody. Did
You're
anybody
the expert. I've never done one in my life, so please, I want to defer to you.
And I'm willing to be the guinea pig.
Okay, so Dawn's willing to be a client. Either I'm willing to be the therapist, or maybe somebody else wants to be the therapist.
I wouldn't mind also being a participant, maybe a client.
Okay, good. All right, so Dawn and Sarah for clients.
And I'm least informed about this protocol, although I would agree with several in the room. I was trained in Miller's protocol and I would get lost in it. So I saw it work. It certainly worked on me as a client, but I'm excited to find something that might be more succinct and more quickly yield some return.
Yeah, and again, I love all those guys, and I wasn't out to like wreck them or anything. I was just, struggling in sessions to, trauma clients. I mean, they've got so much stuff going on. To give them a win, to put one win on the board in a session, just feels like magic. It just feels like such a gift to give,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking at you, Dave. What do you want to do?
You're the boss.
Okay, fine. Let me do one on Dawn first, and then we'll keep playing around. So can everybody take your camera off other than Dawn? Let's see if this works. No, it's not making you go away. Interesting.
There's a button that says don't view non-video participants.
Ooh, hide non-video participants. Wow. I love smart people. Thank you. Okay, Dawn. Dawn, since you've agreed, you probably have something that is not feels safe for you to do today with me. What is it? What might be the behavior that you have that is unwanted that you'd like to have some?
Absolutely. It is my 1 to 2 glasses of wine every night almost, unless I'm sick, but I rarely forget. I'm as religious about my wine in the last year and a half, as I am about my vitamins in the morning. So, and, it correlates for me with, I think, the full-time private practice, which, although it's been a joy, has also been stressful.
Yes.
So I think that's it. And
okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's have some fun. Let's figure it out. So you already told me it's in the evening. Is it with dinner? Is it after dinner?
It's with dinner, sometimes when I'm cooking, and it can be when I'm out with friends. It can be when I'm home with my partner. It's all wrapped up in this sense of just like, I deserve this downtime, and it's yeah, and it just feels good. But then I gained weight that I've never gained before, and I thought, this has got to go somewhere.
Okay. So when you if you feel comfortable doing so, if you close your eyes and you imagine doing the behavior, having the 1 to 2 glasses of wine in the evening, either preparing a meal, after the meal, out with friends, whatever, each night. What are the positive emotions that go along with that behavior?
A sense of connection, joy, happiness, And I'm trying to think of what comes with that sort of I deserve it, right? I think
Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
yeah, it's sort of
Don't
like
work too hard.
okay,
I'll jump
that's
in.
really it.
I'm
It's
hearing, yeah,
joy,
connection, positive emotions are connection, joy, and happiness.
connection. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. And so again, if you imagine drinking the wine, enjoying that wine, having whatever's the most pleasurable part of that behavior with the positive emotions of connection, joy, happiness. What's the positive feeling you have in your body?
Calm, warm,
Mm-hmm.
connected.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And as you imagine closing your eyes, being connected to doing the behavior, as recently as you can imagine, either a specific time or an amalgam of times, and feeling connection, feeling joy, feeling happiness, noticing in your body a sense of calm, a sense of warmth and connection. What's the positive belief you have about yourself that goes along with this behavior?
I deserve
What do you deserve?
time.
Mm-hmm.
I deserve, yeah, I think I deserve, mostly it's I deserve, and it can be several different things, but I deserve.
Tell me the things.
I deserve downtime. I deserve connection. I think it's downtime even more than connection.
Uh-huh. So like a break, relief,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. And feeling this idea of I deserve connection, or I deserve downtime and relief. What would that mean about yourself using an I statement? I'm what?
Deserving.
Okay, so like I'm deserving. I just want to. What's a synonym?
Something else.
No. You can. We'll use I'm deserving for sure. But what does deserving mean? Are you going along the line of I'm worthy or I'm?
Yeah, maybe I'm worthy. Yeah, like I'm worthy of the downtime. Yeah. And maybe there's a part too, sort of I need like to wash away the day, or I need an if it's a and the yoga will obviously say, and then there's yoga, but the yoga will come first, and then I'll go home and make the meal and talk with my partner and have the wine. So there's a sense of needing to wash away the day. So what does that say about me?
Yeah, you need relief or something or other. And
Yeah.
So I'm deserving. I'm some relief. And when I say what's deserving, I'm worthy. In other words, I'm worth caring for or something like that.
Yes.
Okay. Great. I mean, I did refine that with you a little bit, but let's just see what happens.
Okay.
Do you how do you want to use your alternating bilateral stimulation today?
Well, I would say what's best for demoing. I have my neurotech tappers with me, but I can also do this. So do you have
It doesn't matter. What's more effective for you, Dawn?
I think either is fairly equal.
Right. So if you want to use tapping just for demo, that's fine. So what I want you to do is to close your eyes, imagine having the wine, and imagine the feelings of, all the positive feelings that you described, the positive body sensations, and the I'm worthy or I'm deserving. When you think about that, when you think about I'm worthy and I'm deserving and doing the behavior, how strong is the connection between the behavior and I'm worthy or I'm deserving 0 to 10, where 10's the most?
I would say about an 8.
Okay. So that's our connection score. Perfect. So what I want you to do is just picture doing the behavior and don't start tapping it. Just picture doing the behavior, light it up, the emotions, the body sensations, I'm worthy, I'm deserving, and just start tapping. Oh, you already had me. Good. All right, and if I ask you to stop and just open your eyes for a second, when you think about the behavior now and I'm worthy or deserving, did the strength of the connection go up? Did it stay the same or did it come down?
I want to say it stayed the same, but another piece that came with it was a sense of comfort in the routine.
All right, but so stay the same at 8. Perfect. again, close your eyes, picture doing the behavior, and just start tapping. All right, and if I have you stop and open your eyes again, now when you think about doing the behavior and its connection to I'm worthy or I'm sorry, your other positive thing, I'm deserving. Did the strength of the connection go up? Did it stay the same or did it come down?
It went down to like 5.
Okay. Great. Let's try it again. Just close your eyes, imagine doing the behavior and start tapping. Okay, and if you stop and you open your eyes again, now when you think about the connection between I'm deserving and I'm worthy and drinking the wine, did the connection go up, stay the same, or come down?
Went down like to maybe a 3.
Okay.
Maybe a 3, 3, 4.
All right, 3, 4. Great. Let's try it again. Close your eyes, picture doing the behavior. Okay, and if you stop and you open your eyes again, now as you think about doing the behavior and its connection to I'm worthy or I'm deserving, did it go up? Did it stay the same or did it come down?
Down.
Where are we now?
Like a 2, maybe.
Okay. Great. Let's try it again. Close your eyes, start tapping, think about doing the behavior. Okay, if you open your eyes again. So now when you think about doing the behavior and its connection to I'm worthy or I'm deserving, did it go up? Did it stay the same or did it come down?
Maybe down, stay the same or down. Maybe 1, 2.
Okay, somewhere between 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Great. Let's try it one more time. Close your eyes, start tapping, think about doing the behavior. Okay, if you open your eyes again, and now think about doing the behavior and then that positive belief of I'm worthy or I'm deserving. Strength of the connection, did it go up? Did it stay the same or did it come down?
0 to 1.
Okay, 0 to 1.
Yeah.
And what's sort of when you make that face and like you've got a thought on your mind, what are you thinking right now?
That actually for about the last 3 or 4 sets, it just became more difficult to hold on to that. And it just became more, I think, sort of preposterous. Like there are so many other things I want to be doing that are also reflective of my worth and what I deserve after 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night.
Okay, great. Well, let's then let's talk about those things that you could be doing. So in terms of a more adaptive, something that is more esteemable, more healthful, the adjective, something that is better for you, that you might do instead in this sort of time block, in these sort of places when you're having the wine, what could work to help you get to that positive feeling state of, I'm worthy or I'm deserving?
I think it depends upon the hour of the night, but historically I studied a lot of dance, and now I've been almost too tired to. It's been preposterous to imagine taking a salsa class at 7 at night after my day, but but so I think dancing. As soon as I'm dancing, that's absolutely a sense of I deserve this this break in the day. I deserve this like different experience. Yoga.
Okay, so we got a couple body stuff, dancing or yoga. Could either one of those, since you described making dinner, since you described after dinner in your home, I'm guessing, if that makes up the majority of the times when you're likely to have this unwanted glass of wine or two, is it likely that you could do one or either of those, one or the other of those behaviors to get you to I'm worthy or I'm deserving?
Yeah.
Which one?
I think yoga happens more frequently, so I would say the yoga.
And that's something you could squeeze into the night that is,
Yes.
you're going to be able to do it either in front of your partner or in a place that you're
Yep. I could do it with my partner, right? So sometimes we do yoga together.
Okay.
And it's interesting because those activities, when I fit them in, seem to I don't know what the word is, unpair the need for the wine with dinner, right? They are, I mean,
well,
you're
getting your I'm worthy fix, right?
Yeah.
So all right, so why don't we try that? Why don't we have you do some imaginal rehearsal of that? So picture the time of day, picture the sort of state that you might be in that you would want to go for the wine, and instead imagine doing the yoga and just start slowly tapping back and forth and let that imaginal rehearsal see it all the way through and strengthen it. Ask you, do you let me know if you want to keep going or if you want to check in with me?
No, I want to check in because I just had a thought.
Yeah.
Is that this would require me to set more strict boundaries with when I end my day. Because I think I go too long, which then takes me to a place of just, I think, mental fatigue, probably emotional fatigue.
Yeah.
So I would need to be able to do that. And if I can't, for whatever the reason, then going to the gym also gives me something similar and something that I feel like when I'm done doing it, that I deserve that. And that felt good too.
So, so let me ask you two questions about that. First, as you were imagined doing it, were you getting to this sort of positive belief about yourself that I'm worthy and deserving?
Absolutely, but then that collided with the yes, but I have a long day and I have a very full caseload.
Okay.
So yes,
so it might be asking a lot to also get you to figure out how to operationalize getting your day short and all the other stuff. Is there something else? Is there another behavior that is not as I don't know what that is that you could employ on a time when you maybe are shorter of time that can get you to I'm worthy, that isn't the behavior you want to give up?
Well, to the extent that it pairs with like connection, I can almost find my girlfriend to go out to dinner with me later at night, and that could give me the same, I think, connection. And or she'll sometimes go to a late yoga class with me. So
let's pick, I don't know, let's pick one of those just for the heck of it.
Okay. Let's pick dinner, because dinner has also been an opportunity to have that wine with her while we decompress from our days. She's a clinician as well, so she feels me, and I her, especially now. So yeah.
So if you did that, so what you're going to then, just to be clear, when you're going to have dinner with her in your imagination now, you're not going to be drinking wine. Is that
correct?
Right?
Yeah.
And is that also, is she going to be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. So imagine then this time choosing to go to dinner to get that I am worthy, I am for, and just start tapping.
Okay.
And keep going as long as you want until you feel strong, or if you want to check in. Okay. What are you noticing?
that it is possible. Years ago, when I did Robert Miller's protocol as the client, my problem was white bread. I knew all the white bread restaurants, all the warm, fresh white bread. And that was my compulsive behavior, is I would choose my restaurants based on white bread. So I noticed that coming back in is, oh, we usually have Italian food. There's white bread there. That's outstanding. Olive oil. And I thought, oh, I probably need to go work on the white bread thing again. But that was it, is I'd be, just mindfulness around, oh, I don't need to have the wine. There's white bread. So
well, that is a substitution. I don't know if it's the substitution you want necessarily. It's also been a problem going forward. But this is great. I so appreciate this, because this is exactly the kind of thing we want to figure out. So let's goof around with this a little bit more. Maybe let's be more restrictive about, on the nights that you could do yoga in your house where you've got enough time, or go to the gym. But let's just pick yoga. Imagine on those nights doing the yoga and seeing if we can get you to I'm worthy or I'm deserving.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. What?
Yeah. What came to me was, for years, I studied dance, and even as late as into my 30s and early 40s, like ballet and jazz and modern. And before performances, we would all stand behind the stage, and the instructor would have us yell, "I'm a dancer." And it really became sort of this sense of identity, right? And that came to me even in the practice of yoga, is this sense of, I'm a yogi. This is what I do. And I lost that during COVID and never really quite got back on it. So it was sort of that sense of, this is part of who I am.
Yeah. Great. Do you want to strengthen that a little bit?
Yeah. Except for it.
Yeah, let's strengthen it. I love that.
Yeah, that feels good.
Yeah. Good. Well, Don, what do you think? Is this a reasonable place to stop for today? And then maybe what we could do is have you practice this during the week. Then when I see you next week, I'll ask you how it worked on the nights when you could do yoga. Were you able to choose yoga instead of wine?
Yeah.
And whether that felt good to you or not.
I feel like I need like a t-shirt that says choose yoga instead of wine, or choose dance instead of wine, right? Either of those.
Yeah.
I will be curious to see.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. Is this okay for you? Did this feel all right?
Yeah. It was,
Excellent.
Surprisingly quick, actually.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to do the thing that somebody told me I could do, which is now, can you guys come on again? Oh, good. There you are coming. Great. All right. Fantastic. Good. We're all back. You can see me. We're in the squares situation again. All right. So I have questions, but let me just start by saying, Dawn, is there anything that you want to say about what that was to experience that just then? And then we can have other people, if it's okay with you, either ask questions, and then, I have a couple of questions and thoughts about, because I love where we got at the end, and that's sort of like the trailheads of like, well, there might be a night when I can do yoga, but there might be a night I can't, and I might try that and that. I think that's very real life, right? I think that possibility, and the idea of maybe, well, I guess I'm talking now, but the idea, I didn't mean to, I meant to try to not talk, but here I am talking. The idea of maybe developing for cases like that, contingency plans for the different types of the circumstances that might call for a different opportunity. And maybe they probably each need their own strengthening. It does sort of add an extra layer of complexity to the client, where they have to think, okay, I'm feeling like I deserve something, but I don't want wine, but it's Tuesday and I don't have time for yoga, or I do have time for yoga, but that's okay. I mean, that's not such a reach. But anyway, now I'll stop. What were some of your thoughts about that experience, the Buzzkill experience, if you will? Oh, wait, I want to just hear from Dawn first, Jen, and then
Well, two things that were surprising. The first was that probably 3 or 4 sets in, my brain was almost annoyed that because the pairing was no longer fun, right? It was so it became not distressing, what's the word? Just uncomfortable to continue to pair and notice, because my brain really wanted to go off to the races with all the other things that started flooding in, whether that was reading or yoga or just making dinner, whatever it was.
Yes.
And the second thing was there was this tremendous need at the end to really strengthen a pairing of all of these other things. Like I noticed my brain wanted to focus on sort of tapping in, if you will, just numerous other things that would be just as rewarding and in more so in a way, right? That were a better fit for what I deserve and who I feel I am. So anyway.
No, thank you so much for 100%. And thanks for saying that, because, you know, you're sort of giving me the instruction, which is we had time. I could have kept going. And we could have kept resourcing every one of those things that we wanted to do instead. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So that's a great point. And I think the next time that I have the situation where somebody comes up, I guess, you know, I was at the trailhead of, I don't want to make it more complex necessarily. Like I almost was choosing, let's pick the one thing, really lock it down, let you go see about that and come back. On the other hand, why am I cheating you of the opportunity to strengthen or resource 3 things if you wanted to do 3 things? So I'm going to try both of those things and see how it goes. And I'd love for other people to try it too. Sorry, Jennifer, you had a question.
Actually, I wanted to tell you that I played Shadow Client because Dawn and I share the same love of an evening wine. And I was like, well, I'll play along. And I pretended I was the client. And I had a different, although I think that there's probably maybe a couple different reasons. And I'm wondering if like you are going to, with some people, decouple multiple reasons, or maybe because I kind of hit on kind of I do what I want. I'm free.
Yeah, I'm free. I'm free. That's the I'm free. I hear a lot. You know, I deserve it. Also, I'm free. I'm not, I don't like to be cornered. I don't like to be told what not to do, all that kind of stuff. And so then what we get to, the client that I showed you that I work with all the time, he got to I'm free on something. And I'm like, great, well, what else could help you feel free? Right? And that's where I was shocked. He's like, I could be cooking for my family. I'm like, what? I thought we were talking about, you know, that was freedom for him. And he gave me the 10 reasons why that was freedom for him. And we really privileged that and resourced that. And then he's like cooking up a storm. And every time he cooks for his family, he thinks of the work that we did and like, oh my God, I get this opportunity to nourish my family, to nourish my kids and my wife, to take this thing off of her while she's caring for the twins and all this other stuff. And he just felt so much self-esteem around I'm free that the idea of I'm free being paired for him before to like looking at images on the internet was like, ugh, no, I can get free this other way.
And I also had the same kind of, you know, well, I have some of the same answers, right? My first answer was like, take a 12-minute walk. You can usually take a 12-minute walk. And then I kind of even pictured myself doing it in the winter, but then I'm like, what if it's raining and it's really cold? So I did it's interesting and to think of the multiple avenues that you might want, like giving yourself options.
Yes.
And when you started talking about that, that was really great because I'm thinking about like the 9-year-old I see who pulls her lashes in school because she needs that relief. I think she's got the ADHD, but she needs to be able to do things that are functional in different environments in school. It can't just be like, I'm going to do this one magical thing. So it's nice to think of that as, because I was thinking while you guys were going through it, boy, yeah, that is hard to come up with that replacement that's functional and available and, you know, all that. So that was really good for me too.
Fantastic. And again, it's sort of, I just am sort of like thinking we'll come up with something, you know, we'll find something. I mean, I suppose there's always the client who says, I have absolutely no idea how to self-soothe other than drink wine. You know, maybe before now you would have found some other things, you know, and at least you would know, well, you know, I remember from your history, but then you would ask that question, you know, is it always been that way? Is there ever, you know, can you imagine any time, can you picture any time when, well, no, there was that time. Of course, I didn't do that. I did this other thing. Interesting. What is there something close to that? Is there something that you could do in your present life? Would you imagine? So, Jennifer, thank you so much for actually being a secret second client. That was very efficient. That was awesome. What else are people thinking about or want to ask? Oh God, we're too efficient. It's
I
incredible.
have a question.
Yes.
Based on what you said earlier, you mentioned I don't like to be cornered and told what to do. That I think I thought that was a positive, but that's a negative cognition going
Sorry,
to
you know, I wasn't suggesting that as a thing that they say. I was just riffing on or reflecting on this I'm free. It's the sort of negative cognition of I'm free in a way. So, but no, you're exactly right. You want to reach for the I'm free and have that. And so that what happened to Dawn as they start desensitizing happens where there's an unpairing where you're like, well, wait a minute, how free is it of me to want to look at the porn app? Like, is that really free? And that's what sort of like is the magic of watching this happen in short order with people in doing the Buzzkill is that after somebody asked earlier a question, I thought it was a different question, which is I ask myself usually how many sets do I end up doing before I get to 0? It's often around 8 to 10. And if you think about 8 to 10 relatively quick sets of maybe 30 seconds or something or other, not very long, right? I mean, you know, within 10 or 15 minutes, you watch it drop to 0, which is many people, including therapists that I've done it with in Zooms like this, are like, I was like what Dawn said. Dawn described it as like the unpairing, like suddenly it got uncomfortable to even say, you know, I'm worthy and drinking the wine. It just starts to feel not, you know, not connected anymore. And each time I did, there must be something about therapists and evening wine drinking. But I have another video of where I did this with a therapist. Same thing, 1 to 2 glasses of wine with TV with her husband after a hard day. I deserve it, right? You know, doing trauma work all day. And it's the same thing. After about 5 sets or 4 sets, she just blurts out without anything from me. Whoa, what just happened? How did that just happen? You know, this idea that like that made sense to her 5 minutes ago and it suddenly didn't make sense to her. You know, it just didn't compute anymore.
It got incongruent for me. Like in this split second, it just all of a sudden was incongruent.
Yes. Yeah. Or the
uncomfortably so.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that, I don't know, neurons that fire together, wire together, all of a sudden they're not firing together anymore. You know, that wiring is not connected anymore. Now that the wiring is unconnected, we have an opportunity, fake neurologists, we have an opportunity to rewire that right in the way that we talk about with clients. And then strengthen it through resourcing and now building a much stronger neural bridge to I'm loved, I deserve good things, I'm whole, I'm whatever it is. Give them a better option. You know, post-election, I've been scanning for ways to feel better. And Dan Harris on his Instagram wrote something today about action absorbs anxiety. And I thought that applies to a lot of things, including this in a way, because we're not just asking them to stop pairing it. We're giving them a replacement behavior. We're giving them action to do so that if you're pulling your eyelashes in class because you are overwhelmed because you have ADHD that's not treated or whatever, and you give them a new thing to do, whether it's use their breath or sing a song to themselves or color or I don't know what, they are doing an action. They're having agency to be able to address that what had been address that feeling in a way that's more adaptive or constructive. So there's it's all connected, I think. Yes, Muriel.
Two things, more comments maybe than questions, but the first one is when I was dabbling with this with some clients, I feel like I reinforced a client's carb addiction instead of desensitizing it.
Oh, interesting.
Because pardon?
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, it was like she's really, her brain is so quick that even though we go short rounds, it probably it went to what you told about the past. So before you know it, her carb eating was chocolate eating, was her grandfather bringing over Cadbury chocolate from England with the particular purple color that is so, wonderful kind of thing. And it certainly changed her relationship to carbs, but it didn't necessarily, lower the.
That's so interesting. I mean, of course, you're making notes in the margin like crazy, and you're thinking, I'm going to go back and do, some more maybe standard EMDR on some of that stuff. And I think that that's what Robert Miller definitely does, with his example of, smoking and the kids, and I feel connected or whatever when I'm smoking to the other 13-year-olds or whatever. So yeah, then you could do some EMDR around the first time a float back or whatever to, when you didn't, when you that love or whatever and undo it. But right, that's why I try to keep it tight. And if they're fast processors, like I don't know how fast Dom is processing, so I was goofing around a little bit with the length of time. She didn't seem to get way off, so I thought after the first time it was sort of saying the same. I said, let it run another couple taps. Let's see if we give her a little more rope. If we have some change. But if you have a client, like I've got some super, engineering, people that just are like, so fast. I'll keep super tight sets. It might be 8 taps. It might be 10 taps because I don't want them going all the way off into an associational network because then it becomes big R instead of little r. But that's okay. You could try it again. I would just take another run at it and keep it super tight and just see if you can't. And if it doesn't work, well, maybe this isn't the thing. I mean, this isn't. I don't know if this is a Swiss Army knife. It's useful, but I don't know if it works on everything. But you could try goofing around with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to give a go at it again with this client. The other comment is that, but you sort of addressed it in your little after blurb, is that for me, I'm sort of putting, unfortunately, my judgment hat on, thinking, she already does yoga. Is that a good thing? But meanwhile, it was a great thing for you to, Dawn, to think of yourself as a yogi again or a dancer again and that sort of thing. Because I kept just thinking, oh, but at the end of the evening when you're just sitting around with your husband, like what takes less effort? Because so I think resourcing some other things would be my thought as well, which you mentioned. So.
Yeah. I think having the opportunity, if you've got time and or your client, or you do it over a couple sessions of resourcing a whole palette or a group of adaptive behaviors that they can then select based on what feels yummy at the time. That's great.
Yeah. What you deserve. Yeah, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question. I have a client, a couple basically, where the partner has had an affair, and therefore this is about the excitement of going out for novel things. So
For
it
what?
needs
Novelty.
novel things, yes. So it's from going to look for something that gives the excitement. It's not one person, so it can be multiple.
Sure.
And so And I go, how come? Like, what's driving that? And we kind of come to, I'm bored, right? I'm curious with this, would you just go straight to what's the novel piece? Where's the positive in that area?
Yeah. Like, well, two things. Are you doing it with them as a couple and the partner is sitting in the room with you?
I haven't yet done any EMDR. I'm still processing because we're still working on the atonement of the affair.
But they're together in the room?
Yes, they're together. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. I wonder whether if you start developing with him what's really great about when you cheat on your wife, what a negative impact that might have on her in the room, whether this might be better to do individually with him to try to unpair the behavior, whether she, I don't know, leaves the room or if you're in person, whether you have an individual session with him, because I would worry about it might be very odd to her for you to be saying what's deliciously great about having sex with all these ladies, right? I mean, or whatever, people. So, but yes, I would be interested in for him, what's the best part of it? What feels really great? What are the positive emotions? What are the positive body sensations that you have? And with sex, they might say tingling or excitation in their genitals or whatever, and just be prepared for that. But you're like, okay, great. And then non-judgmental, and then and what is the positive belief you have of yourself? I deserve novelty. I love something new. I want adventure. I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, you want to make it broad enough where when you're thinking down the road, what else can we throw in there that he likes adventure? Well, maybe he can do rock climbing. Maybe he could, cook 15 kinds of food. Maybe there's a lot of places to get novelty in our environments that doesn't have to be in the sexual arena. So I think novelty is fine, especially if you can get a sort of a positive belief that's sort of general, because you can think, well, novelty I can work with. If he just says, I have to have a different woman every night, I mean, that's you got nowhere to go. It's not broad enough.
Got it. Thank you.
Cool. Betty?
I was thinking about what Dawn said about the connection between the need to have the unwind because of overworking, and the client that I worked with on her compulsive internet shopping.
Yes.
She ended up recognizing that she needed to go back that step, and she was having a little bit of workaholic stuff going on where she couldn't say no to her supervisor who kept adding work. And we ended up having to do a thing on what is it about saying yes to your supervisor for extra work that, so we ended up killing about the overwork.
Yes.
It was sort of an interesting, like a rabbit hole of what else do we need to go chain back to?
Correctly. It's the whack-a-mole of compulsive behavior, right? I mean, you got to get your dopamine somehow. So we're always like, well, how can we channel you into getting your dopamine, if you will, honestly, getting your dopamine in a way that is not going to have a negative consequence for you. Overworking, so something's suffering, you're suddenly not taking care of yourself. So it's better maybe than, racking up tens of thousands of dollars on Amazon. But it's not so great because so perfect.
Trauma history of if you say no, you get beaten. Everything connects to everything. But I find this tool really an effective little wedge in these. You can't process everything.
Right. Yeah, no, and if they're like in the larger, David, you work with crystal meth. I work with guys with who, the chemsex, the pairing crystal meth with sexual activity, whether in group settings or whatever. It's very, very hard, right? You got all kinds of stuff firing at the same time. It's a hard thing to unwind, but I have done it. I have used Buzzkill around specific things, usually the triggers or the things that are going to get them to there, right? Like sometimes once the horse is out of the barn, you can't chase them anymore. But if you earlier on, if you could sort of be like, okay, when you're feeling bored, oh my God, my least favorite and most interesting word ever, right? What does that mean? When I'm feeling itchy, when I'm feeling anxious. I mean, bored oftentimes with people with compulsive stuff means anxious. They've run out, they can't figure out what to do with themselves, right? They're uncomfortable in their skin. So when you're feeling anxious, what are, or that thing when you're just about to go on the app or you're just about to message your old chemsex buddy, what's that feeling like? And then sort of processing that down and finding a new way to sort of deal with at 10 p.m. What's another? I could watch cat videos on TikTok, or I can do something else, right?
I'm building a little bit on what I'm glad you brought up. I'm building on what Marilyn brought up, where you thought you gave somebody a carb craving. I thought I made somebody act out. I was working with a crystal meth addict, and we worked on the cravings. And the next week he came back and he said, after I left you, I acted out sexually at an anonymous sex site. And I thought, great, I'm doing such good work here. Wonderful. He said, I never want to do an EMDR with you again.
Well,
And,
yeah.
Because I activated his neural network around craving, but we didn't close out the chemsex link.
And look, David, I did for my first chemsex guy who came in, was like, I've got to work on the rape at 18. And I've been in therapy for 15 years, and you're finally going to fix this. And I thought, of course I am, of course I am, because I'm that good. So we did it the first time, and it was a 3-day weekend coming up. Also, note to self, 3-day weekends, people that use, not a good time to do anything that's going to dysregulate them. And yeah, he went out and used, and I thought, fantastic. P.S. He's, just got out of, after years, a sex rehab in California, is living in sober housing, is doing fantastically, but it didn't kill him, happily. And it was the beginning of the journey of sort of understanding. Then we did connecting the consequences, when he came back. Then we did some other stuff, I mean, like I understand that you feel like the other thing I thought, in hindsight for me was I could have done much more resourcing with him. I could have done a much better history taking. I thought I had it, but what I didn't know was that he was on the apps all the time and didn't tell me. And so I thought I did some work, and he immediately went out to self-soothe, got on the apps, boom, off to the races, and then I went to the ER. So it's what you don't know, and sometimes it's you have to think, do they have enough resources for something as sort of high stakes as that kind of thing.
And I appreciate what Betty just said. You can't hit everything. You just can't. That was so relieving when you said that. You just can't hit everything.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
God, what a smart group. Yes, Angela.
I do a lot of couples counseling, and I really, piggybacking on what Sheena said, I think this could be really, really powerful for the participator in an affair, because I do a lot of infidelity recovery, all that kind of thing, and also in the work that I do. And I think it could be really powerful, because I do often talk about, I sometimes have a individual session with the participator, because when you get rid of something that you thought was making you feel bad, and now you're suffering the consequences, it doesn't feel good. And who can you talk to about how I miss that affair partner? I miss what that affair partner gave me. Because sometimes in the initial sessions, they can't discuss that with their partner, the one that they have hurt so badly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I can see where just having a session with that person that's a participator, and maybe giving some gentleness to what they're doing, and kind of unpacking what that was feeling for them, and using your protocol, I think might be very powerful for them. So I like that you brought that up, Sheena. That was great.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, just like, that woman that emailed me last night, who she wants to go back to her ex, she has this pull to go back to her ex. And it's funny, she answered me last night. And then this morning I was like, oh shoot, what did she use as the positive adaptive thing? I didn't ask her. So I texted her like whatever time this morning, I don't know where she was. And she wrote me back immediately. She said, well, she happens to be Christian, and so she used prayer. So they resourced prayer, that when this urge comes up to reignite or reconnect with the ex, she would substitute prayer and strengthen that. And I was like, great, fantastic. Prayer, meditation, breath work, breathing, a lot of these are things that we can do silently, anywhere, anytime, even self-tapping potentially with a positive, peaceful place, whatever. I mean, if they got nothing, you always have those in your back pocket to offer or to work with them on. Tara.
I was just thinking as you were talking, and I was sort of suspecting this coming into this, like I work with a lot of eating disorders. And one of the things that we talk about is how much the anxiety cycle especially for restrictive disorders.
Mm-hmm.
Such a modulator to overall life stressors. And that when we ask the patient to give up the behavior, there's got to be something to replace it. You can't just not do it, or you set
Yes.
your patient up for failure. And I love this as a concept, as a way to get inside of that. Like, okay, if we're not going to go this direction, like we can do regular resourcing, but sometimes that's not nearly as powerful
Right.
as a restrictive urge. So excited to try this with some of those folks.
Fantastic. Yeah, I have a couple of videos with again, therapists that found themselves, because of the stress of their trauma work, getting very, very attached to a green apple licorice at the grocery store and going every night to get it and eating a tub of it, and just feeling gross about it. We did Buzzkill in one session and got it to 0, gave her something else, which interestingly was she could go across to it was like a mall. She can go across, and if she wanted to reward herself, she can get some really high-end sushi, like 2 sushi rolls, which were not bad for her. And she could do. And then 6 months later, I talked to her, and she's like, sometimes I get the sushi, but mostly I just keep seeing that when I go to the grocery store. They always put it on an end cap. She's like, and I'm like, I don't want that. I don't need that. So it's interesting how even the replacement behavior doesn't necessarily have to remain forever. Just as you get more distance from the habit, and also as you have more prefrontal cortex working rather than just ooh, I really need something in the back of our brain, you can just sort of be like, yeah, I'm not going to do that tonight. I don't want to do that. Yes, Sarah.
I just wanted to say, while you were doing the work with Dawn, I had my own aha moment of
Great.
some things I could incorporate into my life for additional resources.
Uh-huh. Oh,
It's just interesting how that all came about. So I just wanted to share that.
oh, I so appreciate that. That's great. So these are great questions. Does anybody want to give it a whirl and do another one of these? Not with me, but like, I don't know, David had expressed some interest. Is there anybody else that might like to be
Somebody else would like to go, I'm fine not going, or whatever you'd like. I'm glad to defer to the group.
I had said I wouldn't mind being the client, but I'm okay either way. Because like I said, I kind of came up with some things as you were doing the work with Dawn. So
I'll go for it, David.
Okay.
You sure? I've never done one before, so be gracious.
Of course. Do you have the protocol? Oh, there you go. Okay, great. So we should all I guess mute and go.
Oh, don't all leave me yet. Your faces are very reassuring. Sarah, what state are you in?
Connecticut.
Okay, so I have to have you say this. This is only for purposes of demonstration because I'm not licensed in Connecticut and doesn't count as therapy, okay?
Okay.
Agree to that? All right, just
Yes.
for longevity sake. All right, so what is the unwanted compulsive behavior that you want to change?
So at night, when I get home, so first of all, let me just say I work second shift. So when I get home from work, nobody else is really awake except my pets. And I usually close out.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Dawn, can you go off camera? Just close your camera. Oh, there we go. Sorry, but I apologize, Sarah.
No problem.
So you work second shift and no one's up
Yes.
except the pets when you come home.
Right. And so usually I'll wind down the evening by just watching TV for a little bit until I get sleepy. And that usually includes just eating something. And one of the things that I've been eating, which I was thinking I would like to get away from, are potato chips. And I usually get the lightly salted ones, but still I'm finding that, I would rather maybe not have the urge to eat those potato chips because I noticed that sometimes in the middle of the night, I'm actually thirsty.
Sure. Even though it's low salt.
Right. And then I was thinking, I wake up in the morning and I'm thirsty and It probably would just be a little bit healthier if I didn't do that.
Mhm.
So I was thinking I would like to maybe just try to get away from that, but it's not that easy
No.
because it seems like it's satisfying in some way.
Sure. Okay. How much of you wants to change this? Give me like a 0%, 10%, 50%, 75%. How much of you are
Um,
more?
okay, I would say probably at least 60%.
At least 60% wants to
Yeah,
change it.
yeah. Between
Um,
60 and 75.
okay, so that's a lot. What's the best feeling or emotion you get from eating these lightly salted potato chips?
I think just like feeling satisfied,
Mhm.
hearing that crunch
Mhm.
in particular is just like what stands out for me.
Very visceral, right? It's visceral, that crunch.
Yes. Mhm.
What would you describe as the body sensation associated
Mm,
with eating the potato chips? Maybe that
just
crunch.
feeling relaxed, like
Mhm.
that's my time.
Is that in body? Do you feel it in your body? Give me this a little more body.
Um,
Step into yourself a little more.
okay.
Feel the crunch.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that I usually feel kind of calm,
Mhm.
sense of satisfaction, that type
Mhm.
of thing.
What positive belief do you have about yourself when you engage in eating these chips?
Um, maybe just that, I finished the day,
Mhm.
worked hard, I maybe did some things to help other people.
Mhm.
Um, this is my time, and probably I deserve this also.
I deserve this.
Mhm.
Take that a little deeper. And
Okay.
I deserve this because I am.
Um, I'm gonna go with I'm worthy.
I'm worthy. Okay. All right. So I want you to bring in mind the positive emotion, that satisfaction you talked about, and that body sensation, and that crunch, that relaxed, and that positive belief of I am worthy while picturing yourself eating the chips. Can you put those all together?
Okay.
All right, and then I want you're comfortable with butterfly taps?
I actually brought my tappers down. I have,
Okay, so go with your
okay,
tappers.
all right.
And you're going to ask
And
her
then,
the connection number first, right?
Oh, I'm
oh,
sorry, I
okay.
missed that. Yes. How strong is the connection between that
Uh,
positive
oh,
belief of I am worthy
mm,
and the behavior of eating the chips on a scale from 1 to 10?
it's a 10.
It's a 10. Okay. Get out your tappers.
Okay.
Can you imagine eating the chips?
Okay.
That feeling you have?
Hmm.
All right. And that belief of I am worthy. All right. Go with that. Okay, pause. Did that go up or down or stay the same?
Um, maybe it's like an 8. I think it's going down.
Okay.
Doesn't feel as strong.
Go back to it. Go back to
Okay.
eating chips and
Okay.
that thought of I'm worthy. Okay, pause for a moment. Did it go up, down, stay the same from your 8?
It's probably a 6 now. And in my mind, I'm having this thought, like that seems a little ridiculous.
Okay.
Like I'm way more worthy than potatoes.
You're way more worth than the potato chips. All right, so go back to that. Go back to that image of
Okay.
eating chips and I am worthy.
All right.
Go there.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, pause. Did that connection go up or down or stay the same?
It's probably a 4 now.
Right.
It's coming down.
Go back to the image.
Okay.
Good. Okay, pause. Did it go up, down, stay the same?
It definitely went down.
Give me a
I'm gonna
number.
say it's probably a one at
Okay,
this point.
let's go one more time. Can you still have
Okay.
the image?
Yeah.
And that thought of I am worthy?
Okay.
Go with that. You come back to me.
Okay.
Where are you at from that 0 to 10 now?
I think I've neutralized that. I think it's at a 0 at this point.
Excellent. All right, so our next step is to pair this with an adaptive behavior. Is there another behavior you could do at that exact time when you come home from work? That might
Yeah,
be. Go ahead.
I was thinking, I don't even know why I didn't really think about this before, but one of the things I offer for the patients that I work with is an open group. I actually I'm a Reiki master teacher, and I also do auricular acupuncture. And I have an open group for them every night at the end of the night if they want to come do that before they turn in, to go to sleep because it's an inpatient unit. And I'm thinking, why am I not even doing this for myself? So I think that that's something that I could probably put in place.
What would that look like? What would it look like? What would it look
So,
like? What would you be doing? Because I
so
want it to be manageable in that time.
right, sure. So, I mean, I could do, I don't have to do the acupuncture part of it. I could actually do acupressure if I wanted to just put your seeds on. But then the Reiki, I could do that anywhere. And I probably could just take my cell phone and put on meditation music and just use some earbuds, as a connector. That way I won't disrupt anybody else in the house. And that might be, I don't actually, I'm going to rephrase that. That would be a healthier way to close out the night.
You could do it in the same seat that you eat the chips in?
Yep,
Same location, same everything?
same location.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so I want you to pair that image of
Okay.
you using, say again what they are, because I'm not familiar.
Reiki.
The Reiki.
Yep, and it's kind of a meditation practice and
It's doing the
energy
Reiki
healing.
meditation practice.
Mm-hmm.
And along with that thought of I am worthy.
Okay.
All right, and go with that. Okay, come back to me.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Good.
Right, could you
I was
imagine?
just thinking,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just thinking, about other things that I could do also, just in terms of, um, sometimes one of the things I'll give the clients are essential oils. I could bring all of that, kind of into that whole um, evening routine. And I might have even more peace in my life, was what I was
Less
thinking.
salt.
Yes, yes.
What would it
I'm
look
not
like?
even thinking about salt anymore. I'm thinking about peace.
What would it look like? What would it look like for you to, can you picture what it would look like to use your oils?
Okay.
At the same time, same place?
Yeah, so that is pretty straightforward. I have essential oil diffusers. So I can actually just have that in the living room. And all I have to do is turn it on as long as I have it set up. And that could just be part of the whole routine.
All right, imagine yourself doing that.
Okay.
And close your eyes and play it all the way through that you've come home from work and you're
Okay.
sitting here with your oils in the spot where you ate your chips. Go with that. Open your eyes when you feel like you can picture that. Can you
Okay.
picture it?
Yeah, I can picture. Mhm.
All right. Thank you for working with me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
I'm only pausing because I'm being conscious of time.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
no, I think that's good. I mean, if people want to come back,
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
David, you did fantastic.
yeah.
I was nervous. Thank you. She was great too, so.
Thank you.
You know, the easy part, and I saw it with Dawn, when you're treating therapists, like they kind of know what you're going to ask. So especially you for your therapist.
Yeah. Don, come on back on your video. Sarah, but again, David, fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, what a joy to watch this. Sarah, what was that like for you?
I actually was just thinking how when I'm doing that practice, I can just be sitting there with so much gratitude, just about like being able to end my day that way, knowing that I helped some people, throughout the day, and it's just going to be so much healthier.
So great. And as
Yeah.
you were falling, I know that David's thinking this too, as the number was falling, 10, 8, 6, 4, 1, 0,
Mhm.
right? That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just want to point out that was 6 back and forths. I don't even know if it was 10 minutes. What did you notice as sort of it was falling? What told you that the number was falling, and what were some of the thoughts that were coming out?
Well, one of the thoughts that I had is it was just crazy to myself. I was thinking to start out thinking I'm worthy is being connected to potato chips. then, and then realizing I'm so much more worthy than that of something else better than potato chips.
Yeah.
And then it was ridiculous. And, I was kind of, I was able to unlink those two things really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, gosh, it was so, it's also great working with people who have some resources like perhaps we do, or certainly, Sarah, you do, for David to ask the question, what else could you do in that place, in that time, to also get you to I'm worthy, and you like, boop, 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 and then David letting you strengthen those. I mean, as you were imagining doing it, did it start to feel more doable, more real to you, more accessible?
Yes, I could visualize it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a thought at that point.
Yeah. Fantastic. Wow, guys. I mean, right down to like 5 minutes before.
It
Yeah,
was very
David.
important to me that I had her in the same chair for some reason. I wanted her in the same position that she ate the chips in.
I like that. No,
Because
I
I
like
felt
that. 'Cause-
very right-brained, and I also felt when I was doing her beginning work, I had a little hard time getting her in her body.
Huh? Well, in
And so I
fact, she
felt like-
reversed it. You asked her what's the thought. She ended up giving you sort of the body first and then the emotion second with the other. So I thought that was good that you sort of,
Yeah.
clarified that a little bit
What
more.
if I could put her in the same chair? She'd have a more embodied experience.
Yes. No, I think that that's right. The specificity in a way, I think is useful. So yeah, Dawn and I are going to find each other, and we're going to do all 4 of the possibilities of where she's going to end up at 7 p.m. so that we can work on each one of those. Angela.
It's a quick question. I think this would be a good follow-up before we get off of here. When you've done this, do you ever need to come back and strengthen that again, or maybe go through it again? Because some of these things are like habits, right? So
Yeah.
they're probably really hard to break. I mean, so do you come back to the same protocol and do it over again, check in on it, just like you would in EMDR?
Yes. So I have done that where I ask them about their success. Sometimes, or at times, I can't think of a specific example, but I've got to imagine it's happened. It didn't work for some reason or another. And then I'm just curious about why, right? So what's the blocking belief? What's the thing that got in the way? Maybe it was, once we got out into the in vivo, into real life lab, it didn't work quite as well. So now that we've had the opportunity to experiment during the week, let's redo it now, knowing everything that we know, having tried it, right? So that's one thing. And the other thing that I find that's interesting, and I'm still working on this with folks, they will have given up the behavior, but they still have the urge for the behavior, and that bothers them. So what, so like in a client that I'm thinking of where he still wants to go to porn, but hasn't. So that when his wife says, did you use porn? He could say, I didn't. And then he thinks I wanted to, but I didn't. And then he tells me I wanted to, but he doesn't tell her because he's still worried about it hurting her. But he didn't, but he's like, but I don't even want to. So we're going to go back and just see if we, if there's something more in there. I mean, of course, for me, I'm like, when, we fixed it, the behavior is fixed. But what the behavior that's not fixed is sort of the tug still to do it, where he has to sort of talk himself out of it. And what he really wants is to sort of bypass it altogether. And it might be that over time it will, because he keeps using the adaptive things, and it's just sort of like, again, that neural bridge that he's, to fix bored or I'm unworthy or whatever is cooking. And it just gets better and better. But I'm curious about going back to sort of the continued, and so I would modify it a little bit, like when you think about, that, or when you think about doing it, I feel like I want to still fool around with it to see if I can't even get the urge in a way to sort of come down. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What else? Any other questions or oh yeah, Dawn, are you saying something?
I just have a thought about using this with like my special operators, right? The SEAL community, the Delta Force, because the infidelity that they have that then plagues them, and they can articulate often, life is so boring now, I'm retired, I don't deploy anymore, I don't have any more excitement, and this is their excitement.
Yes.
And yet they will say, like Esther Perel would say, right, I love my spouse. I'm very happily married, but there's this itch, there's this urge for the novel. So I'm hoping that I just had one come in recently with the oops. So I'm hoping I can, use this with him, and we'll see what it renders.
Yeah, and have him unpair it, have him get to the say, I can't believe that I am messing around on my wife. I love her so much, right? And then it's like, okay, great. You want, I am, whatever it is, I want to feel alive, or whatever their positive thing, like, what else can help you feel alive? Well, I could swim the English Channel. One of my clients did. I can, a SEAL. I can, do a stand-up water paddle, whatever. I mean, there's other ways to get excitement, right? And maybe try to pair that with something that everyone's going to say, yay, and the wife's going to be there at the finish line, like, yay, and nobody was unfaithful to anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Great. Well, all right, here we are at 2:00. You guys are great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And
Thank you.
yeah, let's stay in touch. We're a community now. If anybody, part of the Buzzkill community, if anybody wants to, ask me questions or email me or whatever, or get some more stuff, let's keep doing that.
This is
fantastic.
It's really
Thank
fun.
you. That was really fun.
Thank you. Yeah, wasn't it great to be able to do some fun and therapy at the same time? Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks so much to everybody who volunteered.
Bye-bye.
All of you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.